Breathing. Nick, move your mic down. There you go. Hello, welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network, presented by Primary Arms. Sweet, I love an echo. Who was the guilty party? Raise your hand.
Probably me, but it's weird. It's going through my headphones, so I don't know how it would go through my microphone. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, well, that mic's pretty sensitive, so.
I just unmuted myself anyway. Mute YouTube, Nick. That's the only thing you can do, because that way you don't have the second speech.
Pretty much.
Oh.
Anyway.
Think we ought to change the topic to safety?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I already had that highlighted once.
I highlighted it again. It was that good.
There we go.
Oh my goodness. They're starting already, Jim. Oh, wait a minute. You're not Jim. You're Alox addict. What the hell? All right. So. Sorry about that. I had a frog in my throat. Maybe it was an anchovy. I don't know. Oh, that's not good. Ugh. Get that ugly guy out of the screen. So. Well, that was rather sneezy. Had something interesting happen over the last week. On a movie set named Rusty, which was an old Western. You saw what happens when people don't do their jobs. As much as everybody wants to blame everybody else, I squarely place the blame on this on one person and one person only. Maybe the last person to hold the firearm, the one that pulled the trigger.
The person that discharged the firearm. I take it.
Yep, that's who's. I don't care who else you want to try and blame. There isn't anybody else to blame, because if you're going to handle firearms as part of your job, you better learn firearm safety. And that means knowing the difference between a blank and a live cartridge. Although, if you ask Brandon Lee, just because it's a blank, it doesn't matter anyway. Oh, wait a minute. That's right, you can't. The bottom line is, Alec Baldwin pointed a firearm, a functioning firearm, at another human being and pulled the trigger. And that human being is no longer with us, because Alec Baldwin did not follow firearm safety. That could happen to any single person in this world. So you better pay attention to what you're doing. Tab K or Cooper's 4 rules or the 10 safety rules, whatever you want to use, I don't care. But guess what? There's only one that matters. Treat every firearm as if it's loaded. Always.
Because it probably is.
Yep.
All firearms are loaded until you've checked it.
Even then, I don't trust them.
Safe.
Okay, and now the number one rule is never point a firearm at anything you do not wish to destroy.
Yep.
Okay. Cooper taught us that a long time ago.
There's a lot of people that have taught us that. Many, many, many times. And you know, he's getting blasted because of his anti-gun stance. I don't really care. The bottom line is he didn't follow the firearm safety rules. I don't care what his feelings are. You know, Hollywood's just a giant ball of hypocrites anyway, because most of the people that bitch about firearms are the ones that are making shit tons of money off of them anyway. So whatever.
Liam Neeson, for example.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm not even gonna go on that road because we
you
could
know, I
spend
was-
4 days talking about that.
I was looking at, they were blaming a 28-year-old girl who was the firearms wrangler there.
She wasn't even
And-
there.
I know. I mean, you know, she wasn't there to be to do anything, and you know, come on, you know, when you're using a movie prop guns, they are threaded barrels, so they don't work.
Well, it
This
just
was
came
a
out yesterday.
real
Paul.
gun,
Yeah, it just came out that they were shooting it on off hours. So
right?
that's a live functioning firearm.
Right.
Yeah, they weren't prop guns.
No.
Yep.
And I would know. I deal with this every time I go to a reenactment. We have what's called S&A, safety and authenticity, and we go through a rigorous, and they check every single round that we have to make sure it's a blank round, because they've had situations at shows where people have brought live rounds to the shows. And, if I'm within 30 feet of someone, I'm not going to point the gun straight at them. I'm always over their head, if not 10 feet over their head.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Because you know,
absolutely.
it's like we run around. You know, we've run around plenty of times playing airsoft or whatever else. When real firearms come out, you don't point them at another person ever. No, Vanessa, I haven't. Vanessa Kitty asked, "Have you ever picked up a firearm and started shooting?" No, because I knew if I ever did that, my ass would get beat. There's one exception. When I was on the range was hot, and the sole entire purpose was to put rounds downrange. So I knew that that's what was going to happen. So, I mean, the whole entire movie, which is now suspended, was a giant shit show of safety in the first place. There's all sorts of stories, but the bottom line on this, there's one person and only one person to blame. And that's the person that pulled the trigger. It's just like any other firearms accident. You want to talk about hunting accidents, you want to talk about other, you know, shooting accidents at the range or whatever. There's one person to blame and only one person to blame. The person that pulled the trigger. Period. Full stop. End of discussion. So.
How true.
All right. Next topic. Chris W. I asked last week about checking a charge master with a 505 and was told to drop the charge and move the weights. How is a guy supposed to use the 5-5 to trickle up a charge accurately?
Good question.
When you figure it out, let us know.
He's kidding. He's kidding. You have to
So-
set your scale at near weight, slightly under, and then you trickle in gently with a trickler. That's all.
Nope.
Nope. They're balances. They're not set for trickling. You cannot.
Right.
You cannot
Wait a second.
actually.
Are we
trickle.
talking about checking the charge master or the
No.
505?
The 505.
You can't
I've
trickle on a
trickled-
505.
I know you do, but you can sit there, you trickle in what you think is there,
And then you adjust
Hey.
your scale
adjust your scale,
and repeat
take
as
the
necessary.
pan off, take the pan off,
Yep.
put it back down on there, and now you can check where you're at.
It's not like it's not like the IntelliDropper I got sitting right here where I can literally trickle while it's running, or some of my other electronic scale where I can trickle while it's running, or some of the other there's some manual scales out there you can do that with, but a 505 isn't a true scale. It's a balance. And
Mhm.
so as such, you can pretend to trickle, which is what we do, but you can't literally trickle.
You can be up to 4 kernels of powder of say 4895 over or under with a 505 and not have and be off that much
Mhm.
if you're going to trickle up.
Right.
It helps. Put a wire up on there, okay? So you have a fine, a fine wire across your scale, the pointer part of it, so so they can line up better. That'll help some. But still, it's trickle in, take the pan off when you think you're there, set the pan back on, and check to see where it comes to.
So what he's talking about is, I've just got a twist tie that was laying on the desk, but what he's talking about is he's taking this and you're taping it there so it goes over. So as your beam goes up and down, yeah, that would work well. Great idea, Mike. Move the camera to try and move the item. So as the beam's going up and down, you can see better where that line matches.
Right.
So that's what Paul's talking about. But so technically, you can kind of do it, but it's not an actual. It's not like you can really set your balance beam for, like, say, what have I got it set for right now? 20. I got it set for 28.6. So I couldn't throw a charge of 28.2 in there and then literally trickle it up and get it to balance correctly. I'd have to take the pan off and then put the pan back on to double check to make sure it's correct. So you can't literally trickle like you would with a special electronic scale. So it's like I said, it's kind of trickling, but it's not really. It's not true trickling, if that makes sense.
And how we did it safely beforehand, we used check weights. Check weights. I mean, that's how we tested our balances with check weights. You can buy them, all the reloading manufacturers have check weights. Buy a set from 60 grain, what do you get, 65 grains or 65 and a half grains out of it? Buy a set.
So Chris W. said, I don't understand. Stop it, you stupid computer. I don't understand why 1/10 grain increments if it can't utilize that accuracy. It can, but the thing is, 1/10 of a grain is a large amount of weight. So you could have 4 kernels, like Paul was saying. You could, depending on the powder. I mean, if you had ball powder or flake powder, flake, you could probably have 12 flakes.
Mm-hmm.
Ball powder, you could probably have 4 or 5, 6 powders, ball powder, depending on which powder is. Like 748, that's a really small ball diameter. You could probably have 6 of those on there to make a 1/10. I'm not sure. I haven't actually bothered to spend my time figuring out how many kernels is a 1/10 of a grain, but that's the thing, is a 1/10 of a grain as far as a powder charge really isn't all that accurate when you sit there and look at it objectively. So
look at the manufacturer and ask them what they rate the accuracy of their scale to, or their balance beam. Okay. You'll find most of them are plus or minus 0.2 of a grain. So, 2/10. As long as you're loading normally, fine. You start reaching the upper ends and that kind of stuff, get yourself a real scale and a better one that measures to the 100th of a grain. He just picked up the shooter's kit, Lyman shooter's kit. Mainly subsonic. Are you saying you can't trickle out into a beam scale? I didn't say you can't. I'm just saying you can get close, but you need to remove the pan, put the pan back on to make sure that you're correct, that your balance is going to balance at what you've set it at.
Thank you for that clarification, because I stand with the crowd. I've trickled into my scale for years. However, the clarification you made was pull the pen out when you're close, put the pen back in, and wait for it to settle out to make sure you're at the right, that you are at the desired weight. Okay, thank you for that clarification, because I was going to take issue with that statement, but I didn't want to take and disrupt the show. But now I understand the clarification. Thank you.
Not a problem. I mean, I'm just saying that I did a demonstration here on the show showing that a balance beam being trickled into and then having it not read correctly.
Sure, I understand.
And
no, guys, because the thing is, I've shot 3/4 inch groups at 300 yards with my loading method, my hand loading method. So I understand the distinction. What I did was very, very good. But if you're shooting for that last 3/4 of an inch at that 300 yards, you want to break that down to 1/10 of an inch. Now we're talking about going into the rabbit hole, like Paul's been telling us all along since the man came onto the show. Okay.
Mainly subsonic, yes. When trickling up just a few kernels, that beam scale may not read that increase, hence having to remove and reinstall the pan. So, Jorgen,
Exactly.
what you're saying is that a balanced beam scales will not respond to a trickled weight, as the force of that trickled kernels may not be enough to reset the scale. Yes. Whereas removing the pan will. Yes.
Excellent
And that
clarification,
also,
Jorgen.
and that also, I'm going to say that for some of the cheaper electronic scales that you guys spend, $20 or $30 on Amazon, some of them will not read that correctly either.
Right. Yeah, my first gen Hornady right here, the GS 1500. You can't trickle into that.
Yeah.
You have to pull the pan and put it back on. Besides that, it turns off by itself if you try trickling.
Well, what they did was they put software in those electronic scales that sit down to they never figured that a reloader would sit down and have a clean environment.
Right.
No, the table wouldn't bounce. The floors are going to be creaky, whatever. So they actually put software in there to fight that one or two or three kernels that you're trying to drop in there to keep it zeroed. So you got to do the same thing. You pick the pan up, you let it read to zero, you set the pan back down, see where you're at. Lyman was good for that with their original electronic powder drops. Oh man, people would sit down and watch them throw charges, uh, a full grain or more, over or under. So, and okay. Paul Loud, I've trickled straight in my RCBS 1010 beam scale and it seemed to recognize the kernels as they hit the pan. Good. Maybe you gotta, maybe the knife edges are good on there. You keep them clean and everything else. I ain't gonna trust it. That's just me.
I mean, we're not saying it's not possible, but it's not accurate. That's what we were trying to say. Is it can happen, but it's not going to necessarily be guaranteed accurate. So that's why you need to take the pan off and put the pan back on.
Mm-hmm.
It's the reloader's version of the hokey pokey.
Yeah.
As Paul Loud has said, I've done my reloading on my 1010, which is why I highlighted the comment, because he and I, for once, are in a complete agreement. And I have to agree. My 1010 seems to recognize when powder is coming out of the nozzle, out of the trickling nozzle.
Well, 1010s
Anyway.
are also a whole different ballgame when it comes to scales. So
True.
You know,
That's a point I hadn't considered. I have to admit, I hadn't considered the fact that 505 and 1010 are not the same.
not even close. They're not even in the same state when it comes to that. The 1010 was so much better of a scale than everything else.
mm-hmm.
So,
And when you got, I wish they still made their the 202s and the scales. I don't
right.
know, you know, those scales you could trust because pharmacists would use those scales, you know. So that was, you know, that was a real scale. I mean, it actually had a dial where
Mm-hmm.
you could sit down to, you know, by a tenth of a grain, dial in a tenth. So how about it, Jim? Do you find the 1010 difficult to use?
No, not a bit.
That
I've been using it since 1980, 81.
right.
Something like
Is
that.
that you know that little barrel there trying to turn it, you know, give you fits every once in a while? I know it gave me fits.
No, if I need to lubricate that tube that goes through my trickler, I would use powdered graphite.
No,
But it's like a 64th under the hole diameter. It's not going to hang out. It's a steel tube, piece of stainless steel tubing, shall we say. It's actually a block of solid steel I machined out, and I went through the whole damn thing with a piece of aluminum and a piece of aluminum tube that I made. So if I don't need lubrication on the scale, so I don't. Shut up, Chris. Chris Sharp, you're a turd. Turd bird. There you go. No, I don't need lubrication. I saw it. That's why I made the powdered graphite comment.
so but a bit nuts. Do you find that you know the barrel that you have on the 1010, you know, trying to turn it? Do you find yourself moving the scale too much
Oh,
when you do?
no, mine. Well, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. You might have to send it back to O House if you're having problems. That sounds like something hanging up on the screw. A bit nuts. You might try a nylon toothbrush on the threads to make sure they're good and clean.
That is the one thing I got to tell you guys on any balance beam type scale. Cleanliness is definitely godliness, okay? And you have to keep them clean. You cover them up, whatever you do, keep the dust out of the knives that are in there and off the jeweled uh, rest that they go on. That will affect you greatly. Does anyone have a Hornady trickler? Yes, I do. And if you use it right, it works really good.
Depends on how old it is, Jorgen. Anything made in the last 5 years is plasticky and crap. If you can get one of the older ones that's actually really good, the ones that are still all metal, yeah, those are fine. But the newer ones are kind of crappy. So
I have the plastic vibrating one, and I like it. But I
Yeah,
can
I
set
think he's
a
talking about just the regular,
okay.
the hand one. So I have a Frankfurt Arsenal, which is out in the garage, and then I upgraded to a Redding. So
Mhm.
the only thing I don't like about the Frankfurt Arsenal is that they use an O-ring to keep the trickler tube in, and they use crappy O-rings, so they dry out and crack pretty quick. So then that means you have to truck off to the hardware store and find a good O-ring. So
Yeah.
that's the nice thing about Redding is it uses an actual E-clip. So
Anybody heard anything good on the new Lyman one? That's got the
no,
adjustable base.
I have not yet. I'll play with it at SHOT Show though.
That's kind of why I'm wanting to look at there as well. So, because I like how it has an adjustable base to it. So, depending on your scale and size and all that.
Okay, Jordan. He had the plastic one. Yeah, definitely no. I have an RCBS that's metal, and it is definitely metal ones are the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. That Frankfurt Arsenal you can't go wrong with. It was
Yeah.
$20. And I mean they're great. I mean, yeah. So I just have to I have to be a little more careful when I'm rolling it. So when I use it, but I mean it's totally worth it. So um so our main question for the night is from 454 Boar, who's in the chat. And he says, "Dear Loading Podcast, had a question about loading my surplus M1 30 caliber carbine. In the past, I've only loaded Sierra 2105 bullets, number 2105 bullets, which is 110 grain round nose, 30 cal, specifically built for that. For those of you who don't know, that's the 2105 is specifically built for the 30 carbine cartridge. So, he says, of course, in these times, one can't be picky when it comes to getting bullets. Besides, Sierra appears to have stopped making the 2105 bullet. Initially, I purchased some bulk bullets, 110 grain round nose jacketed, 30 cal highlighted for the M1 carbine that did not indicate the manufacturer, but later managed to get a box of Spear 1846, which is 110 grain round nose plated bullets, and a box of Sierra 2105 110 grain soft nose jacketed bullets. My question centers around the diameter of the generic bullets. They are much smaller than what I typically shot. I plan on not shooting these until I can slug the barrel, of course, but was wondering if it was typical seeing such smaller diameter bullet for the M1 carbine. I would assume that Spear is slightly larger than the norm, doing to be a plated bullet. I have included the diameter information of the 5 bullets for each of the rounds mentioned as a reference. So the 30 cal round nose jacketed with the exposed base, which is unknown manufacturer. 4 of them are 30715, and the 5th one is 30720. For the Sierra 2105s, which is the one that Sierra has made for that thing forever, they were all 308. For the Sierra 2100s, 2 of them were 30810s, 3 of them were 30805, or 2 of them were 30805, and the third one was 30800. The Spear 1846 are all well over. So those are all 30870 or 30875. And that may definitely be due to the plating. If it's a softer plating, they may make them a little larger so that it compresses better against the rifling without destroying it. So
That was going to be my point exactly.
So yeah, I would say, because I'm guessing if he slugs that bore, I'm gonna go, given the fact that it was a military rifle in the first place, I'm going to go with the fact that the rifling is actually bigger than the 308 to begin with. And I'm probably going to say it's probably in the 310 range. So if he's trying to throw those 307s down, that's not going to work very well. Oh, are you looking up to see what specific it is?
Yeah, I figure I might as well. I got the book here. If I remember right, there was, according to most manufacturers, I thought it was a 309. Is what they say on like Graf and Sons. I thought that's what it was when you buy carbine bullets.
First off, to get accuracy out of a carbine, you're pushing it. But out of the reloading that I've done for it, spear bullets were the ones that I used the most because they were cheap. And I just never, never really sat down to measure them out. I'll be honest with you. We reloaded it to plink, to shoot beer cans with, and watch it go full auto.
Oh, you said so. You had somebody with an M2 instead of an M1.
Right.
Aren't they fun?
Yes.
Of course, they're ridiculously expensive right now to shoot.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And we use H110 and small rifle primer, and I think we were using. In fact, if I remember exactly, we were using Remington 6.5s, and to get rid of them. And yeah, it was just put it through the gun and let it go.
Yeah.
Bore wise, M2s are notoriously for having worn bores.
Oh yeah.
So I can't tell you anything about, how. I know it wasn't extremely accurate. But then what M1 is.
Yeah, the accuracy of the M1 is based on the spray and pray thesis.
The M2, yes, spray and pray, yeah. Okay. Yeah, the M1 was, they when they were new, they were good. I mean, as far as it was to replace a 45 ACP. So anything was better than the military 45 ACPs that you were getting.
Well, you just fired shot across several bows right there, Mr. Nelson.
Yeah, well, just think about it,
Mine included, because I got a pretty good GI 1911.
Okay. And how long did you search for that one?
I put it together. Well, actually, a friend of mine put it together.
Oh, you put it together. Oh, you're not.
It's a parts gun.
That's cheating.
That's not one out of an armory. That's not
cheating.
One out of an armory.
Yeah, it's out of a gun show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cheating, Jim. Doesn't count. You're now disqualified.
Okay, I didn't realize. Yeah. I didn't realize I would have kept my mouth shut.
Yeah, no. Yeah. The only way 1911 A1 counts is if it was actually put together by a quality military armorer and it rattles really well.
Yeah.
And actually 6.5 Paul are the ones called for.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it looks like cast bullets sized to 308 according to Lyman's 50th.
Yeah, and in Hornet it says bolt diameter 308, but I swore for the longest time it was like 308.5 or whatever on graphs when you bought the bullets.
Yeah. What
guess?
What does Barry? Barry is a big supplier now of M1.
They're 308. Bullets. I just looked those ones up as well. Those are what I think we used for the longest time. You can still get them like dirt cheap. Like I'm on this website right now called Armor Bullets. For 500 of them right now, it's $75.
That's not bad.
and I don't think they're berries, but that's cheap. So the hard thing is the actual 6.5 primers.
Yeah, but if they're 307s, that's not going to do any good.
Yeah.
Well, most of those are full metal jacket with an exposed base.
Yeah.
So they're going to expand to fill the bores, just wear
Yeah.
somewhere along there. And again, are we dealing with an Ivor Johnson M1, or
Right.
a military one, or a custom built one from Fulton Armory? Where are we going? That's really the key. He doesn't even know the slug of his bore, and I wouldn't bother to slug the bore. I would just load up 5 of each and put it on paper and see what it did. I mean, a box of 30 cal bullets for those are about $25 or $26. Buy 3 boxes. I mean, the surplus are going to be cheap. Shoot it. See what happens.
So 454 bore is in the chat. He said it's a military. Jorgen has carbine up there, and he's got some PPU ammo. He said he just measured 5 of them. So looks like he measured 10. 5 were 307, 4 at 308, and 1 at 308.5. Now, 454 bore, the one thing you haven't answered is what are you using to measure these things? How are you getting down to 10,000ths? Or is that 100,000?
Hundreds of 8,000ths.
100,000ths. Okay. So, but that's what I want to know is what he's using for measuring.
There you go. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit nuts has an M1 that's a Fulton Armory. So
454 bore is got his there we go. Has got his
oh, there you go. Yeah, Mitutoyo
right
1-inch micrometer. Okay. So yeah, there you go, Jim. So Jorgen's drunk and isn't typing very well. He says 4 is 308, 1 is 308.5. Sorry for the confusion. So
A bit nuts. I like his. He just eyeballs his bullets.
Yeah.
Well, when you've got that nice of a rifle, you can get away with it.
Yeah.
Did you hear what he's got for the rifle? He's got one of the Fultons.
I have no idea what that is.
So a Fulton, let's put it in 1911 terms. A Fulton would be like a Night Force or
Nighthawk.
a Nighthawk, or not quite a Cabot, but
a Wilson.
Yeah, it'd be like a Wilson or a that type of thing.
But yeah, they've taken the
Clark.
M1 carbine and making it really nice.
So they build it from the ground up.
Yeah.
Inland's new release, the new Inland, their new release is actually decent.
I've heard a lot of jamming issues with it.
I don't know. I haven't shot him personally, but
I got a buddy that's got one. He's had jamming galore with his.
Okay.
Jorgen, please don't. That stuff is too good to sit down with through one of our podcasts.
Right?
Akitaschen. Oh.
I'm glad you pronounced that because I have no idea how to pronounce that.
Scottish
that
word.
was what.
Well, yeah, I'm Irish. I'm not Scottish. Although I did find my family crest and my family tartan the other day. So that's cool. So now I'm just debating whether I'm actually going to.
We don't want to see you in your tartan and your kilt. We don't want to see that. Next time, Nick, I'll wait till you get it going up your nose. Anyway,
That's right.
He has a Saginaw. 454 bore has a Saginaw. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a military gun.
Mhm.
And
Yep. And it was one of the cheaper ones.
right. And I would try to what do they have to inspect the bores on those Nick? A gauge?
I use a just if well, depending if he's got like a 30-06 round. I don't know how well that will work because it's just if it's 30 caliber. If you got like an odd six, I use the plunk test on the end of it.
Didn't
That's
they have a gauge though for those?
They did. I've never seen a specific one for the carbine. Doesn't mean they make it. I've always used like on my odd sixes, we have a go, no go, or we have a specific muzzle gauge that's got the +1, -1, all that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I would, you could always just take out a 30-06 or a 308 or something. I use odd six and just kind of look at that how it is, and then that'll tell you your muzzle wear. Kind of give you an idea.
And yeah, I would just I would I'm not so big on not so big on slugging a bore an M1 bore. It's a little. It's not like I can go in from the back end and work my way forward with it. I got to go through the muzzle, and that not not my favorite way to slug a bore.
Squirrel Daddy makes one.
Do they really?
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna have to look at that one.
Sorry to interrupt you, Paul. Finish
Go
your
ahead.
thought.
No, yeah, I'm not big on slugging a bore from the muzzle end. I'd rather do it from the chamber end, and you can't do that with an M1. It's just you know casting a soft lead bullet and tapping it through. Take 5 of each bullet and shoot it.
Yep.
Take H110, anywhere from 13 to 15 grains, and pick a load and see which one shoots the best.
So basically, the Squirrel Daddy muzzle wear gauge for any 30 caliber rifle barrel measures from 300 to 303 diameter, very simply and quickly. Alloy steel with direct reading permanent laser etched markings. Typically, when it gets up to 303 diameter, it's pretty well worn out. Less than that depends on how picky you are. So basically, let's see if I can get a good picture of it here. So it's a stick that's graduated, and then it goes up in increments. I don't know the exact, but so it's from Fisher Gauge. Looks like. So
Well, it sounded like that, Mike. You said it goes up to 312.
it starts at 300 and goes to 303.
Okay.
So it's just going to sit on there. It's not going to get down into the lands.
No, yeah.
So
I was like, just think if you had an odd six, you can almost just use that kind of get an idea without spending
Right.
$20.
Yeah. So 454 bore wants to know: can you do a chamber casting for an M1 carbine?
Sure.
Yes, but why? My personal thought is on most of your milsurp stuff. Why? Because the chamber's not going to be cut with. First, they're not usually cut with any sort of consistency. Because they weren't watching the tooling very carefully. They were trying to crank out as many as possible, as fast as possible. And the chambers are always overcut. So I don't know if a casting would honestly do you any good. So I mean, you can, definitely can.
I mean, what are you looking at in a casting? You're looking to see what? There's no shoulder.
Right.
I mean, you got a case mouth, and that's it. And you're going to get maybe a half an inch of the bore,
Right.
the lead, and that's it. You don't want to go any farther than that. I
Yeah.
mean, but you can do it. I mean, you can cast it. Safe is a nice product. Um, if you had a question about the the chamber, then I would say, yeah, do a casting. That's the only reason I would use Safe is to do a casting of the um of the chamber if there was a problem or a question. Um, Nick, would cast something
Hmm.
from using Safe as a to figure out if it's whatever it is. It is.
Hmm.
Um,
If it were me, I don't even know if I'd mess with Sarasafing the carbine chamber.
yeah.
Um, if I remember, I've only ever Sarasafed one chamber that I can remember. Um, that's just it's not worth it on a carbine. If it was a gun I picked up that I'm not 100% sure on the caliber, trying to find where the
Right. That,
shoulder is, that where it makes sense. But carbine, straight wall cartridge,
yeah, like
there's
Jorgen just said, the main reason for casting a milsurp chamber is to make sure it's chambered in the proper cartridge. No other reason. Especially huge with K98s and variants because
mm-hmm,
there's no guarantee it's an actual 8 millimeter.
mm-hmm.
Some of those are rebarreled for, especially the Turkish ones. Some of those are rebarreled in lots of different calibers.
Israeli after post wars were in 308.
Right? Yeah. Some of them are not 6.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some
Well,
of them
and
are
you never
303
know.
even.
Yeah, you never know what somebody could have done post war, rechambering it and put it look like a regular gun. You have no idea.
Yep. So, um, yeah, I mean for a shouldered cartridge, milsurp, kinda. If you, especially if you don't know what the cartridge is. If I guess if you were trying to figure out what how deep the chamber's cut, maybe. But for the straight wall, it doesn't really make much sense, honestly, for multiple reasons. But
Well, you
but
could
slugging the bore,
find
yeah,
out if it's worn out, the chamber's worn out.
yeah,
I mean, if you're shooting, you know, 3 foot groups at 100 yards, well, you might want to then check it out. But
now, are you
um,
saying the chamber or just the throat?
the chamber could be worn out where the gun headspace is on the mouth of the case. So if
Oh
the
yeah, because
chamber
it's
is
straight
worn
wall.
out, it goes in a little too deep,
Good point.
and then you're going to be, in trouble. So
Would you be able to tell that from the expended brass though?
you could, yeah.
Yeah, potentially.
Okay,
If
but
you're up there
casting the
measuring,
chamber is the safest way to do it, the
right?
best way to
Yeah,
do it,
Mm-hmm.
because then you're going to make sure.
You'll be able to measure specs of the cartridge case to
Yeah,
what its actual.
yeah.
yeah,
And it'll give you a range, and you could see if the shoulder is gone on it or worn out or whatever. Um, but that's as far as I'd go with it. I mean, I would. It isn't to me. It isn't worth playing with it any
time and
more than
effort,
that. Yeah,
and then the
shoot it.
cleanup.
It's a shoot it. It's a shooter. Go shoot it.
Yep.
And it ain't gonna hold one MOA at 100 yards, but
It
if
wouldn't
you're
have knew.
hitting a foot at 100 yards, you're doing pretty good with it.
Yeah. I mean, brand new out of the factory, it wouldn't have shot a 1 MOA.
No.
So, But
And as you guys say, it wasn't designed for accuracy. It was meant to replace the 1911.
mhm.
It wasn't meant for front. It really wasn't meant for frontline use. Really, it
No,
was
it
meant for
wasn't,
more
and it never
officer clerks and. So,
until Korea it wasn't issued as a frontline weapon.
absolutely, yeah.
Didn't they create a firearm called a tanker's carbine?
No. Well, they created it, but they never
Created.
used
It's
it.
not.
Yeah.
It's like the
No.
Tanker Garand. It never saw action. It's all
No.
commercially done.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
No, I mean, they tried a lot of things.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
The most common thing with the carbine though was just the quote paratrooper,
Hmm.
which is the folding stock.
Right.
So, and
Which is
occasionally,
actually not that fun to shoot if you ever have a chance to shoot one.
never
Carbine?
shot one.
Oh, I hate shooting it.
No, the
It is-
paratrooper stock.
I
Yeah.
hate shooting my paratrooper stock. It's a
Yeah.
you got that little leather pad, but that's other than that, it's all wire,
Yeah, I've heard, but I've never shot. I've only shot just the regular wood stock one.
and it does not lock in place. You almost have to push against it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Ooh.
I have shot an AK with a folder that didn't lock in place, and that sucked because you're basically figuring out which way it swings, and then as you're shooting, you have to put the force on the opposite direction to keep it from folding in on you. Yeah, not fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean the 30 carbines, it's a neat cartridge. It's actually pretty decent on whitetail. But it's a niche cartridge. And GGW, the reloading, the reason why you replaced the sidearm with a rifle is because distance. That was the only purpose. These were
Cost.
well, that too. But
The 30 carbine was like,
you could make 4 of them for the price of a 1911.
yeah. I mean, they could not turn out enough 45 1911s
Mm-hmm.
to make it work.
Right.
Okay. And they had everybody making them.
Oh yeah.
And that when they came up with the M1 carbine, yeah, it was easy. I mean, they were taking M1 Grand barrels, turning them down, and plugging it in, and that was it. Okay. And they had little places that were for the war effort would assemble the guns. Okay. I had an uncle that had a steel factory and assembled guns during World War II, and they were the M1 carbines, and that's that's what they did. I mean, they turned it over from doing steel work to manufacturing and putting out the guns. So, and he said that they were getting something like $7 or $8 a gun to manufacture. So, and they figured an M1 carbine was about $30 to produce, and a 45 was a lot more money than that.
I think in 43, 1911 cost 130 to make.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Raymond is sitting here saying that in World War II, the 1911s 1.9 million produced, M1 carbine 6 million produced.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
That's like with one of our carbines. It's kind of special to us because it's 2 Illinois-based companies, Quality Hardware and Rockola. So yeah, it's Quality Hardware receiver with a Rockola barrel. So it's
Yeah.
kind of special to us.
Well, Rockola, as GGW was saying, Singer and Rockola were worth some money. I don't know about the Singers. I know the Rockolas and the 30 carbines. I don't know about the Singer.
You mean Saginaw?
No, he said Singer.
Yes, right. Singer did make some. Well, I think Singers are worth some of them more.
I know
like the
they are
Singer
in the
1911s.
Grands. Yeah, I
Well,
know
they
the
did
Grands
the-
in the 1911s.
They never did a Grand.
They didn't do Grand? No,
Mm-mm.
who am I thinking of? Oh,
International Harvester.
we had 4 of those when I started back at the gun library.
I missed out on one I should have bought.
Yeah.
IH but yeah, 30 Carbine's making a comeback, but with the new Inlands, the Fulton
Mhm.
Armories. There's some revolvers based in that cartridge.
Oh, there's been
Ruger.
Yeah, Ruger's got that one.
Blackhawk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Blackhawk. Well, they never stopped making that. They've been
No.
making that for 40 years, I think.
Yeah. Fun gun to shoot.
I'd rather shoot
You
that
get a flame this far coming out of it.
I'd rather shoot that than the 4570.
Hmm.
So, oh my goodness, that's bad. I'm not reading that pun. Nope, not reading that pun, Jorgen. Oh my gosh. So yeah, you'll have to go and check the show notes out to see that pun from Jorgen. I'm not reading it. So, damn, Sharp's taking a shot at you now, Paul.
Yeah, I know. Look at guys, it's the first podcast from the new reloading room. Okay.
Paints on the walls and everything. So
Yep, we're getting there. Okay. I still got to finish the window out and get the bench along that side, but I still waiting for my heating and air conditioning unit to come in before I start really putting everything else up.
right.
So.
All right, gang. Well,
Yep.
I think we've beat that one to death. What's everybody been doing?
Me working in here, pulling wire.
That's never fun.
No.
Wow.
Boy, you guys are going to really get it. I'm going to tell you.
Right?
This is, yeah.
Jim, what you been up to?
I went shooting yesterday.
Yay!
I took my Winchester Wildcat out again. I was going chronograph some ammo with and without the suppressor.
Mhm.
First thing I found out was my batteries were weak, so I replaced them. Second thing I found out, the lighting was too good. Bright, sunshiny sky. And I was in the shade. Well, it didn't work well.
Yeah.
So basically what I did was I made sure the rifle was really well zeroed in, 50 yards,
Mhm.
and blew a bunch of ammo and got frustrated and pissed off and did not injure the chronograph. And
You know, if you
like I
shoot,
said,
it's an excuse to buy a lab radar.
yeah, right. Well, I'll stick with my crony.
I'm just saying.
How about you, Nick? Over to you, bud.
I had some new toys come in. Well, I wouldn't consider them toys. Let's see if anybody can.
That's one of those inline fabrication.
It is. My inline stuff came in the other day. So
That looks like a reloading press plate.
it is. Yeah, this is the quick change plate. This one's for my rock chucker. So I'll be able to put that on, and I got my one for my new.
It looks like quarter-inch steel, bud.
It is. It's good, thick quality steel. And
Yep.
the base
Have you routed out your bench already for that?
I bought the spacer, so I don't have to. route.
Okay.
It was worth the $10-13, whatever it was.
Cheater.
I ain't messing up that nice bench. But other than that, gonna get some other stuff ordered this week to go with my Forster trimmer. Other than that, not a whole lot. Went hunting this morning.
You won't be sorry if you buy that trimmer, that Forster trimmer, Nick. It's very versatile. You can actually extend it. You'll be very happy with that. Only thing I would suggest is mount it on a little bit wooden plate, a little bit bigger wooden plate.
It is. This board will come off. It'll go probably to about there.
Yeah, and then mount it in the center. You'll like it.
Mount it on one of your on one of the interchangeable plates.
Well, my dad's got a new system on his bench that. So what it is, it's a piece of metal that he mounted on the other side. That's got threaded portion in the middle that he takes one of those extended screws or
Mm-hmm.
thumb bolts with threaded part, and they will connect onto that. And so what I'll do is I'll drill one hole in my bench, drill a hole in the board, and I'll be able to tighten that down through this board, and I can move it wherever I want, tighten it, and I'll have a board like this for my trimmer when I get my new my RCBS primer. So a
So
little bit easier.
you're not gonna route into your bench, put in
The T track now
the T track.
it's already glued and drilled. I got set screws in it about 30 times, so it'd be a little difficult to get all those up and router all that up.
Router bit goes right through that screws.
Yeah.
30,000 RPM carbide. It don't feel them.
Nope, it doesn't a bit. It just right through them.
Yeah.
Just like a sawzall through a nail.
Yeah.
So now what's your excuse?
What'd you do in Guns Reloading, Mikey?
I sold guns. I sold lots of guns.
Yeah, but you did that for someone else. We're talking about what you did for Mike.
I did about the only thing I got to do is I got to play around a little bit with the Laser Academy. So
Good training. Good training.
what I've done is I just set up I set up a couple targets, left them up, and then I've got one of the laser guns.
Mm-hmm.
I got it on a heck of a clearance. It was the target identification one where it came with a little box with 4 different colored lights, and you had to shoot the colored light anyway. So I got it for dirt cheap, and so it's got a revolver trigger pull. So it's actually a good thing for me to practice with, because now I can watch, instead of like when I was using my 365, the shots would be ding, 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 ding. With that thing, it's like ding, 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 ding. So it's good practice. And the nice thing is it's set up, so all I got to do is literally just grab my phone, open the app on my phone, point it at the targets, and away I go. Other than that, I'm trying to not fall asleep while I've been listening to Chris and Travis's edits so I can get those posted. But unfortunately, I've been falling asleep. Heck, I fell asleep sitting on the couch before this. So I don't know. I'm starting to feel like a really old man that just falls asleep anywhere. It's not a good thing. But that's about it. So not really much. Jason found out Samsung Buds will not connect to his Apple device, so that's why he's not with us tonight.
I could have told you that.
He's got to find something else for next week.
Samsung and Apple are direct competitors.
Yeah.
Particularly when it comes to cell phones.
Yeah. So, GGW Reloading said he swapped out his Dillon strong mount for the inline fabrication setup. What a difference. Yeah, the Dillon stuff, I don't even know who makes it for him. They won't admit to it. So,
I mean, Nick just showed us a slab of 1/4-inch steel.
Yeah.
It's heavy. You're probably 20 pounds. Or
Yeah,
at least 10,
it's
15.
definitely a little thicker than even the Lyman one. So
It's a beast.
But yeah, I mean, handguns are still going like bananas, and now we're sending all sorts of rifles and shotguns for upcoming season. Actually, amazingly enough, had some 6mm arc ammunition from Hornaday the other day.
Wow.
Because one of my coworkers, who also is a loader, actually bought one when they first hit the market right before COVID hit. And so we got that ammo in. That's the first time we've seen it. And he goes, "Oh, I should probably grab a couple boxes of that." So, because you can't find brass for it. So that's the only way to get the brass is to buy the ammo.
Yeah.
So those of you who want to be true diehard hand loaders, that would be the one exception for buying loaded ammunition. But see, if you're really seriously dedicated about it, you buy the ammunition, then you pull it down, and then you load it and go shoot.
Now don't go anywhere because we used to do that. Okay.
I know. That's why
You
I'm
know.
chuckling, because I can remember my dad telling me stories about them doing that with shotgun shells.
We used to get, 308 762 by 51 quote match, okay, ammo, and
Yeah,
we
right.
used to sit down and pull the bullet and empty the powder out, clean the case because of the glue they put on,
Mm-hmm.
then reload the charge, and then seed in a new Sierra 168 grain bullet
Mm-hmm.
to shoot in competition.
Yep.
So that was our
And you took
Mexican.
it
Yeah,
took
that
it
was our
from a
Mexican
4
match.
MOA load. Yep. Sorry.
Yeah, that was
Took it.
our. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that was our it was called Mexican match ammunition, and we would. That's what we would do. So it was just that was it.
Yep. Took it from a 4 MOA load to a 1 MOA load. So.
Mm-hmm.
But starting to get some more hunting ammo in, so that's kind of nice. We have a butt ton of 9mm and 5.56 to the point where, for the longest time, we were using a baker's rack behind the counter. So we had that, and sometimes we'd have ammo on it, sometimes we wouldn't. Then we started to get a bunch of surplus 5.56 in. So then we usually had some of that. So then they made a spot on the shelf for it, for just a surplus 5.56. It was about a 4-foot section, and then a little, 2-foot end cap. And so it's kind of been slowly building. Well, we used to have all of the ammo in one 16-foot aisle, or just recently they finally had to span it out so it was 1 16-foot, and now they've actually got a front and back of an aisle, like it was pre-COVID. But the whole one side is nothing but 5.56. So, I did kind of feel bad for a guy because we've been getting some 1,000-round federal packs of 9mm 115J for $379.99, and there was a guy that he was looking at some Kimbers and talking about he was coming through Iowa and had bought a 1,000-round pack, and then he looked down and he goes, "Is that a 1,000-round pack?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Is that really the price on it?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, I guess I didn't get that good of a deal." So the prices are coming down. I just looked at Jorgen's comment. Now it's called Latinx match ammo for non-binary targets. Oh my goodness. But yeah, we're literally keeping 9mm on the shelf now. Like
Wow.
we have an entire 8 feet of 9mm ammo, and we're keeping it, getting it refilled. We're starting to keep 45 on the shelf, 40 on the shelf, 380s every couple
What's
weeks.
40 used for?
Door stops.
Okay.
Yeah, right. You must be getting handgun ammunition in daily. Not nearly so.
It's definitely coming better. So, we've had CCI small rifle magnum primers in stock for about 5 weeks now, with a 2-day exception. So, there's not really much else for primers, and we still haven't seen jack squat for 209s. Shotgun shells are still virtually impossible to find. So, a bit nuts. That's not going to happen. He says I need a box of 416 Rigby that I don't have to take a mortgage on. No, you bought the 416 Rigby. Suffer.
Reloaded.
It's still expensive.
That's what this podcast is about.
Do you know how much the
Reloading.
brass costs for that?
That's his problem.
That's exactly right. That's what happens when you buy something like that.
It's what you need a mortgage for.
Yeah. Well, I think you needed a mortgage to buy the gun in the first place. So, Sharp, who's out west somewhere, he's in Wyoming, says, I've seen plenty of 357 SIG and 500 Smith & Wesson on the shelves. The funny thing is, we've actually gotten quite a bit of 357 SIG in and sold it.
What? Someone actually shoots that?
Yeah. Like multiple people. It could just be because the feds have an office in town. So maybe they're buying it. GGW Reloading said $379.99 equals $18.99 a box of 50. No. Well, yeah, no. But that's still better than most of it's been. So, I mean, right now for 9mm, a good price is 37 cents a round, which is sad. So,
is it really? I mean, think about it, guys. I mean, we're reloaders, okay?
For us, no, because I'm not paying 37 cents a round to load it.
Well, yeah, but we're reloaders. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to sit down and figure out how to, I am actually, and you guys are gonna, think I'm going nuts, but I dug out my Lee pots and getting myself put back together to start casting again.
Nope, I don't think you're nuts.
And I've always been the one to go buy bullets. Okay, here's 1,000 here, 1,000 there. I mean, yeah, I'm going to start casting again.
But when you're talking 15 cents a bullet to go buy them versus 2 cents to cast them, not a hard decision.
I am looking at an APP and a bullet indexing, to sit down and actually, nose down and size the bullets.
Yep.
I got enough room here finally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have 16 and another 5. That's 21, and another 8 more feet over there. So almost 30 feet of bench.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is. Vemjum said a Lee APP with the nose down feeder is amazing.
Yeah.
So. Hey, Jim.
No.
Patrick. Okay.
Patrick Logan, the answer to your question is, have I done any zinc casting yet? Patrick, the answer is no, not yet. That's going to require steel molds for everything I go with, because I wouldn't want to try to heat up. I'll have to see how it goes before I try aluminum mold. I use one of my 2-cavity molds for that.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it'll be the powder coat army, guys. I'm just not there. I am a firm believer in Rooster Red lube from, and they make a liquid that dries hard. So, and that's what I've always used. So, yeah, sorry, but not Alox.
So now we've got a third army.
Yeah.
So we got Powder Coat Nation, Alox Army, and Rooster's Rebels.
Yep.
How's that sound? All right then. Then we've got my group, which is the Lazy Bastards. We ain't putting nothing on them.
Sorry about that, guys. I didn't know my caps lock key was on.
You
Looks
did
like you're
good.
drunk typing again, Jim.
Yep.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, who gave him the rum?
Chris Sharp. I remember you said if you get a chance yet or whatever. But yeah, the answer is yes. I've shot the suppressor on the Winchester Wildcat. No, I have not shot it on the 280 AI.
He shot it out of his backyard, Chris.
No, I didn't. I have people live within 100 yards of me in my backyard, and I wouldn't dare.
And he hear,
Do you have a basement, Jim?
No, I do not.
Sucks for you then.
And besides that, I got a wife that lives in this house. If I start putting that kind of dust in the air, I don't think I'd live here much longer.
Oh, you just get one of those fancy air purifiers and run it while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Where there's a will, there's a way, Jim.
You're
Anyway.
right, and the gun club helps out with that a lot.
Yep. All right, gang. I think that about wraps it up for tonight. But well, that didn't work. So for primary arms, we actually have a code now. It is FRN, and if you buy a primary arms optic, you get a mount for free. So.
Okay. Paul Loud, you are shameless.
Ooh. So they've got the new Hellcat RDP.
What is that?
It's got a compensator on it and a couple other little things. Trigger's supposed to be a little nicer. So. Also comes with a Hex Wasp micro dot. So. That mounts on top. So.
Jorgen, you got some waiting to do.
Jurgen's comment is he would like to be gifted the Ruger African in 280 AI if anyone is starting to think of Christmas presents already. You're talking probably a $4,000 gun, Jorgen.
Yeah, but that's American money. If we're talking Canadian, it's like 10 grand.
Yeah.
That's their cheap money.
That's right.
So.
Ooh, they're running a Halloween sale right now. What do we got on the Halloween sale? Bunch of AR parts. More AR parts. I'm not flipping through. There's like 14 pages. So, yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff on sale for the.
Hey Jim, that gun's actually not as expensive as you think.
Really?
It's only about $1,100.
Oh heck, that's cheaper than number one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the M77 Hawkeye African 280 Ackley improved. Sportsman's Outdoor
number one's
Superstore.
Number one's a mighty fine gun.
Jorgen, you're going to have to wait a couple of months, okay? I got 2 barrels I'm buying right now. I bought a 22-250 that shot out a Winchester. So I got 2 barrels coming for that. And then when I get them spun up, I'm going to have them so I can change the barrels out fast. So you're going to have to wait.
Sharp's giving Jorgen a good idea. It's Sharp's way of getting stuff. Jorgen, if you have kids, buy one for yourself, put it under the tree from Santa to you, and see if the wife will break the news to the kids or not.
Whether or not the kids are going to get anything for Christmas.
No. Whether Santa exists or not. Anyway. Yeah, Jorgen said that it's only 1,500 Canadian, which is like $20 US. That's probably about right now. So.
That's a Canuckian math.
A bit nuts says my Ruger number 1 in 416 Rigby is $900 or $17,000 with a box of ammo.
Oh God!
Oh, that's awesome.
I bet Nuts does have a good sense of humor.
Oh yeah. No, I did not, Paul Loud. You're hearing things. Paul Loud goes, "Did you say Sharp had a good idea?" And I said no. And then he says, "Travis, edit that out." So. Oh, good grief. All right, gang. Well, we're going to wrap this puppy up. Oh, we can't quite yet. We forgot to talk about Patriot Patch Company and their patch of the month. So, werewolf with a subgun and a machete. So,
I got mine.
When you have the patch of the month, it comes as a patch, a vinyl graphic,
and a
drawing.
Yep.
Which nobody can see yours, Jim, because I put my screen big.
Yeah, I can, but I can make my screen big too.
Not if I
want
boot
to.
you. Not if I boot you.
I got it. Well, I can boot you too. But anyway, I got a face made for radio. I know that. I'm not that
so, but some of the other cool things that Jake and Ryan make, a couple of my favorites, of course, I roll my own. This is a patch and the vinyl. It's been a shirt and a hat. Then from Tombstone, say when. So make sure you check them out. New stuff dropping all the time. They're dropping last few Fridays. They've been dropping some new 80s theme stuff. They went through a bunch of vehicles like Ecto 1 and the A-Team van and Faces Corvette and a few others. Just last Friday, they dropped Slimer and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. So, just fun. So,
hey Mike, hold on 1 second. Let me throw a link out there for the gang. An invite to join Discord, if you don't mind. Can you try and get us to come up now?
It's not going to work, but you can try.
I can post the text of the link, can't I?
It won't work if you try and post it.
I mean, just a text. I let them copy.
No, in the chat it won't work.
Oh, all right.
If you want to join Discord, if you're on MeWe, we have the link in the MeWe. Otherwise, you can private message one of us and we'll get you the link for Discord. So, Discord, the links frequently expire and frequently change. So that's the best way to do it. It's not like we can really post one anywhere and just keep it up forever. So,
get a hold of us, guys.
Yeah. So that coupon code for free optics mount with purchase of a primary arms optic only was FRN. So, but make sure you swing by their social media and tell them thank you for sponsoring the podcast, and swing by and tell Jake and Ryan thanks also for sponsoring the podcast. So, just greatly appreciate everybody who gives us help. Thanks to Chris and Travis for helping out with editing. I'll post those as soon as we get done here. And then I also want to thank all of our Patreons who help keep us going on this mess that we call a podcast. And on that note, keep your brass shiny.
Jump on the Millsap Short Bus.
Grandpa told me, don't listen to your mama. Violence does solve problems.
And that barrel-chested rascal up in Idaho likes to say, either keep your powder dry or be an asset, not a liability. Travis likes to say, it's not a matter of if, but when. And I say, support the Second Amendment. We won't have to worry too much about the when. The stronger we stay together, the longer we stay together, the stronger we are together, the less likely they are to try something. Support the Second Amendment. Join a Pro 2A organization.
If you're struggling and you need help, you need somebody to talk to, 1-800-273-8255. Give them a call. They are trained professionals. They're there to help out. So, all right, gang, especially as we're heading into winter, you get a lot of people with seasonal depression. The cold and the long, dark days kind of suck. So, make sure you hang on to your support group, but also remember that that's out there, 1-800-273-8255. Thanks all, and good night.
Good night.
Bye.